Dear students, welcome to the MOOC on Human Rights in India. In this module, we will take up the role of international non-governmental organization with the help of a few case studies. Today, as a result of the globalization, as a result of the free movement of people, the global transportation links, the globalized communications, the interpenetrating world economies through trade links, the world in a way has become a global village, and in this context, the international non-governmental organizations have been playing a very important role, putting pressure on the United Nations, putting pressure on the international non-governmental putting pressure on the intergovernmental organizations, putting pressure on the other important stakeholders to advance the cause of protection and promotion of human rights. Before we go further, these international non-governmental organizations have been having a great impact at the world stage. For instance, there was an international campaign on landmines. For long, it was known that the landmines were maiming, injuring people, and were leading to a lot of human rights violations, and the efforts of non-governmental organizations were not leading anywhere. And in this context, a range of international NGOs came together and advocated for adopting a binding multilateral treaty, which eventually ended up with the adoption of a Ottawa Treaty banning the production, deployment of anti-personnel landmines, and it is a successful story of how NGOs can build alliances across the world, and how NGOs can advocate and bring about an important changes in the multilateral rules. Take for instance Rome Statute for International Criminal Court. Way back in 1948, the Genocide Convention provided for an international tribunal to try the crime of genocide as and when it was established. Between 48 to 98, for 5 decades, there was no prospect of a permanent standing international criminal court to try such serious offences as genocide, maybe because of Cold War rivalries, maybe because of many other strategic and other reasons. It did not come through. In fact, it was a coalition of non-governmental organizations which came together in the form of CICC, a coalition for International Criminal Court, which in conjunction with a group of small and medium countries were able to persuade the powerful countries, and which eventually led to the successful conclusion of the Rome Statute for International Criminal Court in the year 1998. And today the court came into is there, and it is permanent, and since 2002 it has been functioning effectively. And so this again is an important example of how international NGOs can come together and in conjunction with small and medium countries could bring out or make others adopt important multilateral human rights treaties. Let us take a few case studies. You have all heard of Amnesty International, And how did this Amnesty International, which works across the world, come into being? In fact, in 1961, there was a British lawyer, Peter Benson. He was deeply moved when he came across a case of two Portuguese students who were present. Their only fault was that they raised a toast for freedom. In fact, he published an article in the Observer, appeal for amnesty. In fact, this appeal was printed by media organizations across the world, and there was a momentum that was generated which eventually led to some successful outcome for those prisoners. In the years that followed, Amnesty International has grown in strength, and there is an international secretariat in the London, and there are national sections in many countries, and there are volunteers working across the world, and it doesn't accept money from governments. It works on purely donations from members and private individuals. It works on issues such as abolition of capital punishment. It works on torture. It works on prisoners of conscience, human rights education, and many other such important human rights issues. And it employs a range of tools, including in-depth research, publication of reports. For instance, every year it brings out an annual report on the state of human rights in the world, which give the trends, which mention about the serious challenges faced in individual countries or in different regions of the world. And in addition to these report on the state of human rights or reports on particular themes, Amnesty International also issues press releases from time to time, putting pressure on the governments, putting pressure on other agencies for promotion of human rights. Let's say a prisoner of conscience is being tortured. Amnesty International has an urgent action network, and there are a group of individuals who put out an appeal, and this appeal is addressed to the Prime Minister, President, and all other major authorities in a country. And it's also, there are expressions of support to the prisoner concerned and his family members. When one gets hundreds of letters, telegrams, faxes, emails from across the world, from different corners of the world, they do put pressure on governments to stop in their tracks, to stop further torture. In fact, there was a prisoner in the Dominican Republic who was a labor leader, and his name was Julio de Pen Valde. He acknowledged that with every batch of letters, his treatment got better and better, and eventually he was released. So today, Amnesty International is an important international non-governmental organization which works at the international level, which intervenes in the Human Rights Council, which intervenes in many other UN fora, and advocates for the protection and promotion of human rights. Let me now turn my attention to another important international non-governmental organization called Human Rights Watch. It consists of 400 staff members working across many countries of the world. It was established in 1978. Every year, it brings out more than 100 reports focusing again on more than 100 countries of the world, and these reports are solid reports based on in-depth research at the ground level, after collecting facts, after painstaking documentation, and these reports contain recommendations to national authorities, intergovernmental organizations, United Nations, and other stakeholders. And these reports have in fact led to the protection and promotion of human rights in many countries across the world. In fact, Human Rights Watch works on a range of issues, including business and human rights, counter-terrorism, refugee rights, civil and political rights, and the entire gamut of economic, social, cultural rights. And it has been able to make a significant difference at the world level for promoting human rights. Now, let me give you one more example called International Federation for Human Rights, or its abbreviation is FIDH. In fact, it's a federation of organizations. There are about 184 organizations working across 112 countries, and all of them employ a range of means or tools for protecting human rights defenders, and in particular women human rights defenders, and they send urgent action responses, and they also employ a tool called strategic litigation. And in this tool, they intervene in the International Criminal Court whenever there are serious cases of concerning war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, or they also intervene in internationalized tribunals or hybrid tribunals like the Cambodian one. They also intervene in the European Court of Human Rights, and FIDH brings out a report on the status of human rights defenders across the world, highlighting, flagging serious challenges faced by the human rights defenders as a result of their work. And these tools which FIDH have employed have led to a lot of positive outcomes for the human rights organizations across the world. Forum Asia is an Asian organization, again an intergovernmental organization. It was founded in 1981 in Manila. Like other NGOs, Forum Asia also uses tools such as research, documentation, publication of reports, capacity building at the international level or at the regional level. And they have a unique program called National Human Rights Institution Program, which looks at the national human rights institutions in the Asia Pacific region, whether they are performing well or not, and if not, they do send observer missions, they do send teams for on-spot investigation to ascertain facts, and based on these they publish or they issue press releases, they get into media advocacy, they get into legislative advocacy, and using all these, using high quality reports, they have been able to effectively influence the protection and promotion of human rights in the regional bodies, either at the ASEAN or SAARC or other countries in Asia, and also at the United Nations. In conclusion, NGOs employ a variety of means to advance the protection and promotion of human rights, and there are some international NGOs which have reached a very high level of organization, and they operate in more than 100 countries of the world on topics or themes selected by them, and they are making an important difference, and they are able to change outcomes, change law, change policy, change state action, put pressure on state whenever it violates human rights. And we have seen the Amnesty International, the Human Rights Watch, the International Federation of Human Rights, or FIDH, and the Forum Asia. There are many others who are also doing similar work. For example, there is an International Rehabilitation Council of Torture, and there are many organizations which are working, and all of them using a range of tools to protect and promote human rights. Thank you.